It's okay.
So basically, you're not washed. You're filthy right now. You're doing the
No,
podcast.
I took a shower. Just part of the reason why I'm half an hour late.
Well, if it makes you feel better, I also smell because I've worked out the last 3 days and have not showered yet.
Ew.
Yeah, I've been
That's
real busy.
disgusting.
That
It's
is
gross.
really gross.
Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, I'm married. Who am I supposed to impress?
Well,
True.
it's not a question of impressing. You're living with the woman.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
You're getting
I
the
don't
sheets all smelly.
Yeah.
I mean,
The
just walking
chairs
around.
that you sit in.
Yeah, exactly. The upholstery, man. Think of the upholstery.
Think of the
God
poor
damn,
upholstery.
why the word? Think of the upholstery. Oh dear, the upholstery. I want to point out that Warren reminds me of Rabbit from Winnie the Pooh.
What?
Yeah, I don't know.
Why?
I just did it. It just do. Like just then when you said upholstery and you sounded panicked, it just made me think of Rabbit. I've been playing a lot of Kingdom Hearts.
But he's
Okay.
so neurotic. I'm not
Yeah,
neurotic. Hello?
We both get really quiet. That's okay. Tony is basically like an angry Eeyore. So
Bad.
if Eeyore was constantly agitated,
I am agitated a lot.
he's like in a constant state of agitation. That's okay. I'm Piglet. Like constant anxiety. All right, I'm ready when you guys are.
Yeah, let's do this.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for dropping by. My name is Kristen Ashley, and this is The Division, Fightful's podcast dedicated to women's wrestling. Bi-weekly, I'll be joined by a rotating pool of panelists to discuss women's wrestling news, matches, debate topics, whatever happens to be most relevant for that particular episode. Today, I'm joined by two panelists again. First, he's everywhere. You know him from his recaps and predictions on Fightful, and his YouTube channel, so aptly named after himself, Mr. Warren Hayes. Say hello, Warren.
Hello, Warren.
Oh my God.
This is becoming our bit, so you know.
No. Shh. My second and much cooler panelist is Anthony Suter. Anthony is one half of Smart to Death. It's a weekly podcast dedicated to bringing viewers wrestling news and unoriginal Bullet Club t-shirts. Anthony, say hello to the audience.
Hello, audience.
Both are the worst. Similar to every episode that we've had, we'll discuss a few news stories that have stood out and or need dissecting, and then we'll preview some stuff for upcoming pay-per-views, as well as talk about a few televised matches. So we'll get started. Our first news story is not really news so much as our aftershock of Royal Rumble and then the NXT TakeOver. So let's start off by like the biggest topic I think that came out of this, at least for me, was did we get an intergender introduction? What do you think, Warren?
Well, they're definitely trying something out. You know, there were a lot of. Here's what I think the how it worked out during that day in WWE. You know, there were rumors, very, very strong rumors that they were trying to get either Roman Reigns or The Rock, right, to show up at the Rumble. And obviously it didn't happen. They were off filming a movie together, but it didn't work out. So I really do think they were like running around trying to find like the perfect shocking surprise, you know, to do something that would get people talking. If you can't get The Rock, how are we going to get people talking? And pretty sure someone was like, well, why don't we throw Nia into the men's Rumble and she starts eliminating people? I'm pretty sure that's that's how it came to be. But listen, despite how it was, how it came together, that's what we got. And yeah, you know what? We actually did get intergender wrestling because we got people performing moves on people of the opposite sex, and it was pretty thrilling. Despite the fact that it was Nia Jax, it was still very thrilling.
Well, you know, and I've said, honestly, I mean, Becky Lynch is the man, right? But I think if you're not going to put Becky Lynch in there for obvious reasons, then you need to put somebody like Nia Jax. She's really the only other choice from the main rosters, in my opinion. She's large enough. She, everybody hates her, universally hated. So no one's going to throw a fit when, she gets RKO'd. She was the only other option besides, fan favorite, in my opinion. What did you think about it, Anthony?
Yeah, so I'm glad that you mentioned the size, because WWE is playing this angle right now that they want to give the fans what we want. And there's a good portion of wrestling fans that are interested, one way or another, they're interested in intergender wrestling. And they have a unique ability right now with Nia that they could put her in the spot, because it's easier for people that may not be sure if they like or they support intergender wrestling to see a woman like Nia go in, mix it up with the men. Stereotypes maybe that you think of as like women shouldn't be in the same ring. It's easier with Nia because she's strong. She showed that she belonged in the same ring as those men, I think 100%. So her taking an RKO, her taking a 619, her taking a super kick, it doesn't appear to be anything that's weird, I think, because they do have this unique ability with her. So I think it was a test to see how the crowd reacted, to see if there'd be negative backlash on social media. And from what I've noticed on at least on my corner of social media, I don't see that anybody really had a lot of issue with it, other than it's Nia and people just don't like Nia. But it seems to me that people were really like, hey, you go girl, that's awesome. I'm so glad you're getting to see this. And as a fan of intergender wrestling myself, I thought it was great WWE tested those waters.
And I think it's interesting if also that they did it without, for lack of a proper word, emasculating the male opponent either. Because the last time we really saw this type of stuff happen was with James Ellsworth, and James Ellsworth was, really reduced to being, such a non-man, in the eyes of wrestling fans, that it just made, it made sense for him to be beaten up by a girl, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Whereas here there was no depreciation. Like, she tossed Mustafa Ali out. She tossed Dean Ambrose out. It's like, and yeah, she eventually, and she ate the RKO. It's like she was really put in there as an equal, with equals. And that's what I really found was super interesting in this situation. They didn't try to downplay. They didn't try to bring down the masculinity of the men in there.
I'd actually say that they made her look stronger than the men, because she had to take all of those finishers to be taken out. They booked her the same way they would have booked her in the Women's Rumble, where she would have needed multiple people to take her out. And I thought that was the coolest thing. Like, just because she's in there with men, they did not treat her as anything but a force of nature that had to be dealt with in the way that she was. I thought it was great, and it made her look real strong.
Yeah, it had the weird effect of making me like her more. Mm-hmm. And I think, well, whatever. I think, I think too that, you say that the men weren't emasculated, which she didn't look bad either. She didn't look like she was sort of playing some part. It looked like she was actually wrestling.
Oh yeah.
And the issue that I've always had with Nia is that WWE doesn't have anybody in the women's division to match her physically. Her strength, it's just all unbelievable. Like, you have to put 4 women against her to make it believable that they're pushing her out. So, it fits. I don't think there was any other choice. And, there's going to be a lot of intergender wrestling talk later in the program, so I don't want to spend too much time on it right now. But, it was really exciting, and it felt like a really big moment. And WWE has a way of giving us these feelings and these moments that feel huge, and then they squander them later on. Mm-hmm. But at least at the moment, it felt like we were seeing history, and that's something you can't take away from any of them that were in that ring at that point. And how do you get Nia Jax the heat that she so rightfully deserves, besides punching Becky, is by throwing out Mustafa Ali. That was perfect. Mm-hmm. So now let's talk about Ronda Rousey and her promo botch. Oh my god. Everything that Ronda Rousey says is just garbage. It's trash fire. And in particular, I believe it was the Raw after Royal Rumble. or maybe the next one, I can't remember. But she wants to do an open challenge. And basically to show that, you know, if you're not willing to fight for your dreams, what are these dreams? Whatever was written on a cocktail napkin before she came out. And, and she comes out and the crowd hates her. It's so electric and you can feel the heat and the disdain. And she can't finish a sentence. She's stuttering, she's mumbling, she gets mad. Goes off script clearly and gets very pissed off. And then here comes Bayley to save the day to basically say, oh, I'll answer the open challenge that you didn't get a chance to announce yet. What do you guys think about Ronda Rousey? Do you think that she's circling the drain here? I mean, they put so much money and effort into her, and it seems like they just cannot win. They can't win.
I love that you said circling the drain. Like, I love that that's what you use for it. Ronda's promos have been awful. Like, you know, we talk to each other all the time. I could have swore that she's botched so much. She's actually just trying to read like what I type to you guys because I have so many typos all the time. It's awful. But nothing it's so weird to me because she is this woman that clearly has a presence about her that she should be, you know, tough. It should be hard to beat. But she comes out and she like demands respect, and then her voice and what she's saying, you can tell she doesn't believe it. She says weird things like, "Let me skin you like one of my cats, Sarah," and like nothing.
Rabbits.
Yeah.
I don't think Ronda wants to skin her cats. I'm just throwing that out there.
Wow, what a thing!
Shout out Sean Ross Sapp.
Anyway, yeah, I'm Ronda's nothing for me right now. You know, like I don't believe her. She's been pushed to the top, and she's like opposite Roman for me. She's gotten more intense booking, but she can't handle this moment. Like this moment being champion in the WWE with a massive crowd around her where she has to talk and be endearing. Ronda Rousey, the human and the character, are not endearing people. So it's a rough spot for her, I think, and I'm not a fan right now. She's circling the drain, as Kristen said.
Warren, thoughts?
As you know, I'm a big fan of Ronda Rousey's development in WWE for someone who started late last year, and I'm a broken record, I know, but for someone who started in March last year, it's crazy how much she's taken up wrestling, how good she's become, how she's always trying new stuff out. I find that her 2019 has been very uneven, and her in-ring work as well. But you know, you can still point to some bright spots, like she still manages to get great matches out of Nia Jax, like fantastic matches out of Nia Jax. But in the case of her promos, I think we should have all seen this coming because, you know, regardless of the rumors of whether she's, you know, it's Paul Heyman that's writing for her or not, or that she has direct input into it, we should have seen this coming. And because she relies too much on the script. Now, I know it's WWE and you're supposed to rely too much on the script. But what do you do then when you have an audience who becomes hostile and starts heckling? You don't choke. You don't stop. You keep going. You try something else. You don't show weakness because they're going to get worse, you know? And this is the main disadvantage of her having started having been put in this position so quickly with so little experience. Look, if you spend 10 years on the indie circuit working shows where there's 20 people in the audience and you have 3 drunk guys who keep shouting shit at you while you're trying to cut your promo, well, you learn how to deal with hecklers. You know how to deal with it. Here she had 12,000 people chanting Becky, seeing that it's getting to her, so they just ramp it up. She just lost it. Like, she didn't know what to do. She froze. She paralyzed. And that's just complete and total inexperience that's shown right there.
Yeah, and I think what's really interesting as sort of like the psychology side note is that it's very clear that she wants the audience to like her. She wants to be liked, like for real liked. And you can't you can't do something professionally like that and expect every single person to like you, and then like actually take it offensively. Like, I mean, personally, when they don't, you have to put on your job face. This is a job, and move forward. And it's just this weird dynamic, because why would you expect anybody to like you coming in like that?
And you just have to roll with it, and you have to figure out what to do next. I mean, we've seen John Cena in this position many, many times, you know, where he's being booed out of the building, and then suddenly, he starts flashing a couple of heel, he's not going heel, but, just a couple of mannerisms where you're like, oh, but that's experience, right? That's just experience and understanding what you're doing.
Well, it's blinders,
yes.
Everybody hates Baron Corbin. But I wrote an interview like months ago with him for Wrestling Inc. And he talked about how much he loved being hated. He loved it. And he just like, he went in just like everybody else. Like, oh, whatever. You put me in a part that you want me to be in, and I'll play it. And then he started to embrace it, and really just was like, he would say things off camera to get people going, because he wanted that, and he wanted that motivation. And I thought, like, it's like an actor. Like he's method acting.
Yep.
And she just needs to put on those blinders, but she won't.
I think it's interesting that you guys brought up, like, we all brought up someone, right, that does well. Like Baron Corbin, you could argue Baron Corbin is maybe the best on the roster right now at dealing with a hostile crowd.
Yeah.
He's very good at it. John Cena, he's one of the best mic workers maybe to ever go through WWE. He's very good. And Roman, which I brought up, while he wasn't great at working the mic, he was very good at not letting the crowd phase him. Like the biggest memory is the night after he beat The Undertaker. He came out, let them keep booing, made that y'all are in the palm of my hand, and then said what he said, dropped the mic. But those three guys, I feel like it's very clear, and even with women, Bayley can handle a crowd fairly well too, and she's not an excellent mic worker. I think that the passion for wrestling is there for these people, and maybe it's not there for Ronda, and she wants to be liked. She wasn't liked in UFC, so I don't know why she liked, in WWE. But I just think that maybe they have the passion and she doesn't. She thought that this would be somewhere she could be liked and redeem her image to popularity, in pop culture, but she hasn't, and I think that's evident.
Yeah, and it's really evident. One of you argued that she carries Nia Jax, and I think it's the exact opposite. Frankly, I think, I know. Trust me. I think everybody that fights Ronda carries Ronda and makes her look better. The 4 horsewomen, every single one of them has carried Ronda. And now that we're talking about it, Becky Lynch. Mm-hmm. Becky Lynch carries her and makes her promos better, and didn't even have to say a word to do it.
No, she just made looks. She just she looked at her the same way all three of us are looking at her during a promo.
With the whole crowd. Yeah. And Becky Lynch doesn't have to say anything ever. And I kind of want to get off Ronda because she just gets me heated. I don't like just bye. When there was that scare that she was going to leave, I was like, cool, later. Yeah. I don't have any emotional attachment to her. I don't care if she comes or goes. Mm-hmm. So let's talk Becky Lynch, because I am so confused. I'm not very good at kayfabe, and it's hard for me to follow storylines, or as kafabe, as us three like to call it. Because I am really stupid, and I had no idea that it was kayfabe. I thought that would be too easy. What is going on with Becky Lynch? Is she really hurt? Is it a work? What are they doing with her? Somebody tell me. Help.
It's a recycled storyline, right? Like, this is like, we've seen this with Stone Cold and Vince McMahon, and now we're seeing it with Becky Lynch and, Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. Yep. So yes, I'm calling Triple H McMahon. We're seeing the same thing, right? Like, this is what they do when they have a character that can work really well as a tweener. You have them be injured. We've seen this with Roman as well. It's just a recycled storyline where you see where it's going, but it keeps heat with Becky. It keeps the crowd behind her. It's confusing, but I think it's good booking. I don't know.
What do you think, Warren?
Your boy Sean at Fightful has said a couple of times that the injury is a work. It's entirely a work. She's being kept off of house shows, but it's part of the storyline, and it's just good storytelling at this point. So it's all a work. She's not really injured. There's even some people who tried pointing out that she wasn't working the right leg this week, which wasn't the case. But anyway, she's Tony has it exactly, or Anthony has it exactly spot on here. It's Stone Cold. You know, if we go back to the original days of Stone Cold Steve Austin, as he started building his feud with Vince McMahon would be in the ring and was this affable, very nice owner type. He wasn't Mr. McMahon full blown. He was just like, Steve, I'm trying to reason with you. And Stone Cold would just flip him double birds and kick to the gut stunner, and that'd be that. Ultimately, the thing is that Steve Austin created Vince, Mr. McMahon, ultimately because Austin wanted to do things his own way, didn't trust Vince, despite the fact that Vince was just like, look, I'm just looking out for your best interest. This is exactly what's happening. And it's not only happening with Stephanie, it's happening with Triple H. And now I think they announced for Monday that they're having Becky Lynch is being invited to Raw by the entire McMahon family. So they're still pushing this on. They're still making this happen. They're, trying to portray the McMahons as, we're the good bosses, but no one wants really the good bosses. They want to, it's the same thing. They want to live vicariously through Becky, who's been kept down, who people want to cheer for. It's like, oh no, they're doing it again. We're behind you, Becky, because we don't want this to happen again, kind of thing.
Yeah. It's all very confusing because usually there's some sort of end game. And it's like,
I still see the end game. Like she's main eventing with Ronda,
right?
And I don't think Charlotte's going to be thrown in. I really don't.
You don't?
No.
I totally see it. I honestly think that,
because the question is, sorry to interrupt, but the question is, what do you do with Asuka? Who do you feed Asuka then?
Well, and that's just, I was getting to that too, right?
Sorry.
That's okay. It's where is Asuka? All I've ever heard of Asuka since she's won the title is that she defended against Charlotte at some live event. But where is she? Why wouldn't you have your title holder on TV weekly? I feel very bad for Asuka because everybody was so excited. It's now like, oh, cool. He's got this cool triple threat. It was a really good fight. Everyone, I'm totally okay with her winning. Finally, they're going to do something with her. And then they don't.
I forgot she was champ. Right? I truly did. Until this moment, it's just not something that's in the forefront of my mind. If I had to really think of it, but yeah, you're right. What are they doing with Asuka?
Right.
Well, they haven't done anything since Royal Rumble.
Yeah, and they don't have a scheduled match for her for Elimination Chamber either.
No,
not yet. So. Elimination Chamber, I think, will give us probably a little clearer picture about, hopefully, I don't know, the matches besides the tag team matches seem to be kind of thrown together, but hopefully it gives us a clearer picture. I'm kind of concerned about NXT. The next TakeOver is not until WrestleMania weekend. Mm-hmm. So, they seem to be pushing Io Shirai quite a bit. I've seen her winning a lot, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. I'm excited for it. Mm-hmm. But the question becomes, are we keeping Baszler as a champ? And was Belair like a placeholder? Or is she going to continue running for this as well? They haven't had a whole lot of women's matches since TakeOver Phoenix. So, what's going on? What do you guys think?
I can jump in here. Right now, okay, so on the last edition of NXT TV, Io Shirai pinned Shayna Baszler, so that's a big thing, and I think that in NXT logic that well, it should be in wrestling logic everywhere, but especially like in NXT logic, you pin the champ, you're next in line, kind of thing. Like it makes absolute sense. But you could see at the end, like Bianca Belair, she was celebrating, she was like, yay, but she was very, very half-hearted about it, right? It was like, look at the two best Japanese buddies here celebrating and having a good time. I'm not sure I'm into this right now because technically, like, I should get a rematch kind of thing. So, I am entirely 100% okay with them having Shayna hold the title until the next takeover, because Shayna is the person you chase. She's the chasee. She's not the chaser. You go after her. But you see, since we have such a long strip still of time, why not have this mini feud or this side feud between Belair and Shirai and see where we go with this? Have them fight. Give this feud some stakes to it, And we've mentioned in the past, and on this show, if I'm not mistaken, that we'd like to have more women's matches in NXT. NXT is the bastion of the WWE's women's evolution as to where it's landed now. The stars that we love and that are pushing it forward. This is where it all germinated, really. So why is the women's division taking such a back seat? So give us storylines that have to do with stakes that don't necessarily involve Baszler all that much, and I think it's okay. I think it's good, and yeah, let's push Shirai to the moon here. She could be the one to finally dethrone Shayna before she goes up, before she heads up onto main after WrestleMania.
Yeah, I think the plan for Io Shirai is for her to be that person. I do. Before I seriously talk about this, though, I want to point out that Warren is the only person I know that would use the word germinate to talk about the seeds of NXT, like the women's division. Who does this? Who does that?
I write my own stuff. What can I say?
You're like a biology teacher and also a thesaurus. It's
He has thesaurus.com just sitting open.
He wrote thesaurus.com.
See, I understand most of Ronda Rousey's promos. So
that explains it.
I thought that after Belair lost at the TakeOver Phoenix, and she's not undefeated anymore. She had her one loss. I thought that she was going to take a back seat in the women's division. That's truly how I felt about it. I don't think that she should. I mean, they put a lot of investment in her, and then the way she lost looks like someone they want to keep strong. But you have something with Io Shirai that is different. I think she'll truly get over with the crowd. She's very skilled. She's also been injured, and if I remember this correctly, there was issues with her coming over to NXT because of injury in the first place. So someone like that, you probably want to get pushed as much as you can. And that's how I feel. I felt like her showing at the Royal Rumble, I thought, I don't know. I'd like to see her on the top of NXT, and I think she is going to be the person that beats Baszler. She's a great baby face, and great baby faces are the ones that need to go over the big bad monster heel.
I think she's had an issue. Getting used to WWE style, like transitioning from Japanese style over to WWE. But I think it's really, really smart to have paired her, make her work with Kairi Sane, because Kairi is like, she works WWE style seamlessly now. She knows how to work the crowd. She knows how to get it done she's adapted her style to the ring. That's what I'm trying to say, to the WWE ring. I think it makes perfect sense for them to have put Shirai in a program with her as a tag team, because she will be able to help Shirai transition more easily.
Yeah, the camera work is way different in WWE than it is in Stardom. I mean, I don't know that they even really have a camera that they, have to work a hard camera or anything like that in Stardom. So yeah, it's definitely something that she needs.
Yep.
Some time with.
Yeah, and I mean, I really love Baszler. If you're listening, Shayna.
Yes.
But in this case, I'm okay with her dropping it soon, because then that just like confirms our hopes and dreams that she's moving up. And that I just really
Is it hopes and dreams or fears?
no. For me, hopes and dreams.
For the women's division, fears.
Yeah, they fear, not me.
I just hope they use her well. That's the only thing. But I think they will, because Shayna is such a beast. She's a monster.
Yeah, she's amazing.
But then but then we were all sure that Bayley was going to be the female John Cena, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Could do that. Okay, we spent a lot of time on this topic, so let's just move on. So Thursday we had our All Elite Wrestling second rally in Vegas this time, Double or Nothing. Let's talk about signings and maybe question mark signings. So official signings that were definitely announced for women. We have Kylie Rae, who I just love her. She's Smiley Kylie. I mean, she's amazing. I've been pushing for her to get signed like since I found out about her. She honestly main events almost every single show she's ever in, and that is over men. I went and saw Zello Wrestling in Milwaukee, and she main evented with Tessa Blanchard, and it was killer. She is a wrestler, and the crowd loves her. She's adorable at the rally. She's just amazing. We have Nyla Rose, which is a huge announcement. She's the first trans wrestler in a major promotion now to be signed. Those two are the official signings. Then there's two more that we're not really sure, but they will be at least at Double or Nothing in May, and that's Asia Kong, and then I hope I don't ruin this, Yuka Sakazaki.
Sakazaki, yep.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
No, you got it. I'm confirming. Sakazaki. Good job.
Tired.
Good job, boss.
I'm sorry, guys. At the rally, we had some sort of heat between Kylie and Nyla, so it seems to be that those two are probably going to be button heads. Kylie is like BFFs in real life with Britt Baker, and so those two have been itching and fighting and begging to fight each other in a singles match forever now. So, I mean, I and give them what they want eventually. I think that'd be really cool. But it looks like right now we have Kylie and Nyla. Nyla came out, said some words. So I'm excited for that. For those who don't know anything about Nyla, she's been wrestling for about 6 years now. Warriors of Wrestling, Kobe Pro, she's 3 times champ there. Sendai Girls. She's amazing. And reading up on her as much as I did prior to this, like, I'm really excited for all the right reasons, for inclusion, for equality, for the fact that they're not even making it a big deal. Everybody else is. Mm-hmm. It was just sort of like, oh, we signed another female. They didn't make it a big deal. Everybody else is. And that's exciting because that tells me, I mean, it speaks volumes about them as a company. Asia Khan, you don't have to really explain. She's a legend. She's been wrestling as long as I've been born, literally. Shikara, WWF, former Sendai Girls champ, All Japan Women's. I mean, we were told in the beginning that Brandy was having meetings with various Japanese programs, but we weren't sure who. And it's clear that they spent a lot of time overseas doing that. And I think their division is going to be bomb. Yuka herself, Tokyo Yoshi Pro, which is honestly one of my favorite Yoshi programs. They are amazing over there. What do you guys think about the signings / question marks signings? Good?
Go ahead, Tony. I know you would just want to talk about AEW. I know that's what that's all you want.
This is really your topic.
I love it. So, I thought the signings they've made so far are great because the one, there's some knocks that AEW's first rally had, which was, oh, look how white this is, right? Mm-hmm. Like, look how not diverse at all this is. And so what really made me the absolute most excited about the rally was this particular section, because there was so much diversity there with Kylie Rae, who Kristen's already spoken all of the things you need to know about her. She's great and she's adorable and she worked well with the crowd. The crowd loves her. But the 3 other women that were part of Double or Nothing, it's it's so cool that they're so different, right? Like, um, with Aja Kong, she's legendary, has been at wrestling forever. So we have this great legendary wrestler that's not been in front of a mainstream audience before. And we also have Nylia Rose who is transgender. I think it's great. I think this is a good start. And like Kristen said, AEW isn't going around as another promotion would saying, we signed the first transgender. No, they just signed a wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's the coolest thing about this is it's a big deal to us as people that consume this entertainment, that analyze this entertainment and try to get ourselves over with our own opinions about this type of entertainment. But to these guys doing it, they're just wrestlers. They're just, this portion of the rally proved to me that when they said they're going to sign the best wrestlers in the world regardless of what they are, they're going to sign the best wrestlers in the world regardless of what they are, and that's great.
Yeah, that's the main takeaway that I have too regarding Nyla Rose is how just we're zero making a big deal out of it, because there is a certain other promotion that would have loved to slap the words first and historical and ever before having her come out, right? And I thought that was fantastic. It's like, look, we're focusing on wrestlers. We're going to talk about wrestlers, and that's it. And then and I mean, of course, this was, it's calculated. I mean, if there's one thing that everything related to AEW and going back to All In is, they completely understand how to market themselves. So, of course, this is absolutely calculated. They knew they'll be like, okay, we don't have to talk about it. People will figure it out by themselves, and then they'll start talking about it. And then whoever has to be angry will get angry about it, but it won't be on our time. We just signed a wrestler kind of thing. So, I mean, it's absolutely brilliant the way they handled it, not only on a purely human level, where it's like, it's no big deal. Yeah, sure, trans wrestler, no big deal. But also on a marketing level, it's fantastic. I love Kylie Rae. I know more about her because of Kristen and her coverage of her career. That's how I got to know her. She's basically like, she's like a Bailey. She's like another Bailey, really. Super affable and relatable, and it's like, I know people like her, kind of thing. It's fantastic. And yeah, I don't think that the Japanese women that they've announced for Double or Nothing are going to be AEW signees, because the language was very much like appearing at Double or Nothing. That's the language they use. I don't think they're going to be signees, but I'm still not disappointed, because that means that they're committed to establishing very, very strong talent exchange partnerships where they're going to get some fantastic talent overseas. And that's just a win for all of us, whether they're parts of the roster or not. I mean, are you kidding me? Seeing Aja Kong wrestle, come on.
Yeah. And when I talked to Brandy in an interview for Diva Dirt, I asked specifically about talent sharing, because it is something that, like, Pro Wrestling Eve does it. Stardom does it. There are a lot of promotions that do share. And, I asked her that, and she had basically said, we don't want to close the door on anything or anyone, because we want to be inclusive. We want to bring in the best talent, and sometimes that's what you have to do. So, they don't have blanket contracts. Everybody's contract's a little bit different. And that's in an effort to really make sure that they have the best talent, and that they're not, like she said, they're not shutting the doors on anybody. And I think they're doing a really good job of it. I know it's technically only 2 signings, but I was really excited that they did have so many women that they were announcing, and that they spent so much time on it, because they spent a lot of time on the men's division in the first rally, and I was getting a little nervous, but our girl Brandy pulled through. So I'm really excited. All or maybe 2/3 of us are planning on being at that rally. So I'm really excited to see, the event, Double or Nothing. And hopefully we have some really good matches. Hopefully we have some more announcements before then, because I just want I want every show to be all women's wrestling, frankly. But
Yeah.
that's just me.
There'll probably be a few more announcements coming down the pipe, of course. I don't think they're going to sit on this, and it'll be exciting to see where they go, where they keep pushing with the women. Kind of wondering how the contract status with Lucha Underground is going, how that's going to end up, because they're sitting on some fantastic women there as well.
I know what Kristen and I are both probably hoping. I imagine she feels the same ways. I hope that they get a working relationship with Impact. AEW does, because man, there are some women that deserve. I mean, they are women on that roster that deserve to have 14,000, 15,000, whatever the number is going to be, plus however many thousands watch around the world. Jordan Grace and Tessa Blanchard and the people they signed, of course, too, but these women really deserve to get noticed and be seen, because they're great.
They're
great.
And Impact has the history of working really well with other companies. They look at all their talent in WoW right now. I mean, they have Kiera Hogan, Tessa Blanchard. I mean, they work really well with other companies. Tessa Blanchard and Taya is on the indie circuit quite a bit. So they clearly are okay with the talent sharing. So yeah, I mean, give me Kylie Rae and Tessa Blanchard again, or Tessa versus Britt Baker, and I'll watch that all day, every day.
Yeah, you didn't bring up Rosemary and Allie and Jordan.
Okay, I like them all. All right, I'm not there's not one there that I don't like, Anthony, but I'm just really I'm a fangirl of Tessa Blanchard. She's turned me. I like Tessa.
I love Tessa.
Who doesn't, really, though? It's like when I was watching WoW, I tweeted out, "Shh, Tessa Blanchard's on. Shut your mouths, everybody. Shut up." We'll move on, though, just to keep the ball rolling. Our third quote-unquote news story is more like a debate topic, and it is intergender wrestling, because it has played such a forefront as of late, especially with the bigger promotions. You guys seem to know a little bit more about Priscilla Kelly versus the entire world of male wrestlers. So I'm going to let you kind of take the reign on that. Warren, what Priscilla Kelly matches have you seen lately that you think?
Well, honestly, I've mostly seen the shocker matches recently. The tea bag, the match at Bar Wrestling with Eli Everfly, where she spewed on him, but he vomited legitimately. And now it's been announced, like in March, that she's going to be fighting Joey Ryan for officially Wrestling Will Die that day. It is the death of pro wrestling. I think it's, I like what she's been doing. It's not something that's blowing my mind. Like if we're going to sit around and assume that a guy can flip people with his penis, and then we're okay with him running around with a lollipop in his jock and putting it into people's mouths, and it's part of the grand, grotesque, absurd world of wrestling that we live in. And I'm okay with Priscilla Kelly doing what she's doing as well. I mean, it's a logical, it's a logical denouement, I guess. It just makes sense that it goes down this way, and the fact that she's also getting involved with guys, that she's doing intergender wrestling. Look, she's essentially taking the Joey Ryan path. Does something absolutely shocking that exposes the business, and does something that we've never seen before, and she's going with it, and good for her, good on her.
I think it's so interesting that people are reacting so intensely to this. Like they're so confused and so concerned about what she's doing when she's applying a shock and awe tactic, which is, exactly what saved the WWF in the 90s. Like that's right. What they did with shock and awe. This is not any more disgusting than, the Katie Vick thing. It's definitely not any more disgusting than that in my mind. But I don't have an issue with this. I don't have an issue with what Priscilla Kelly's doing. Is it my cup of tea? Is it something I want to see? No. But I don't
You big
care.
baby.
I mean, consume wrestling how you want to consume it. What'd you say?
It called you a big baby.
Oh, I'm not gonna look at it and be like, oh my god, that's so gross. Why would you do that? Like, I'm not gonna do that. It doesn't matter to me. I just don't pay attention to it. If you don't like it, don't go on the internet and talk about it, because you're just giving her what she wants.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is to make a splash and to get signed somewhere and make a whole lot more money. Good for her. Marilyn Manson did it in music.
Right. And I mean, you're talking about the WWE doing shock and awe tactics. I mean, not even the WWE. Let's go back to the 80s, where you had friggin' Abdullah the Butcher, who would take pencils to people's foreheads, who would stab them with forks, right?
Right.
And we're like, and we're getting grossed out because a wrestler, a women's wrestler, pulled out a fake bloody tampon from her gear and stuffed it in someone's mouth. But we're okay, or we remember fondly with a certain amount of nostalgia. Remember when Abby would pull out pencils and would carve people's heads up with them? The blood, ooh, the hepatitis B flowed everywhere that night. It's so weird how we'll remember these things so fondly, and this is so completely phony and over the top. I mean, what Priscilla Kelly does, it's so over the top phony that we're offended by this. In some respect, if you were to put Abdullah the Butcher and what he used to do versus even Katie Vick, I wouldn't even. I'd still say, what Abby did was grosser because it was real.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anyway, but we're not talking about intergender wrestling right now, are we?
Well, kind of. I mean, she's doing it to men, which I think is important to note.
Yes.
I think it's also very funny because this sort of ties in with intergender wrestling, right? Like, there's always a corner of the wrestling market, so to speak, that people are not going to like. I don't like everything I see in wrestling, but it's not, I mean, not everything is catered to every single person, every single fan. There's always something that you're going to like versus you're going to like versus I'm going to like. Mm-hmm. That's why they have main rosters, sort of this PG version of wrestling. And then they're going to have, yes, not on national television, this gross out version of wrestling. Who cares?
Mm-hmm.
You didn't make it public until you went and searched for it. It wasn't like it was on Impact. It wasn't on WWE. It wasn't on a pay-per-view. It was an indie circuit instance. Priscilla Kelly was catering to an audience that goes to these type of shows. The end. It's not her responsibility to cater to every single wrestling fan, especially wrestling fans that had no idea that these shows even existed until they Googled Wrestling Inc. or whatever, or Fightful. Sorry, Fightful. Definitely Fightful. Fightful.com.
You mean there's other websites?
Yeah.
There's other people who do this? Huh.
Not for me. Smart to Death only goes to Fightful.com.
That's right.
You definitely don't go anywhere else.
I mean, Diva Dirt and Fightful.
Yeah, that's it. Uh-huh.
That's it. That's all.
Kristen
well, actually, Daily DDT too, because I have stuff over there. Anyway.
Speaks for me.
Right, I do. I always speak for Anthony.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think it's really ridiculous. I think we have better things to focus on, but people seem to keep bringing it up, and it's just, who cares? It's fake. And if he can't handle a little fake puke, that's on him.
Yeah, right. I think it's important you brought up that you're not going to like everything, or that you don't like everything. Because I told you guys, talking to you all about the AEW show I went to on Friday, and there was an intergender wrestling match, which I like intergender wrestling. That wasn't what I didn't like. There's a dog collar match, and it just didn't hit home for me or for my wife when we were there.
Can you tell us what a dog collar match is?
It is. It is when Jimmy Jacobs and Jessica Havoc have spiked dog collars around their neck, and they are chained together, and in the ring together with dog collars, chained together. it's not my thing. There were a lot of people at that venue, let's call it a room, that they were wrestling in, because it's an indie wrestling show, clearly, if there was that match in it. But there were people that were into it. I wasn't into it. It had nothing to do with the intergender spot. Jessica Havoc is awesome, by the way.
Yeah. She is.
And she is terrifying. And man, did she make Jimmy Jacobs look like a tiny, tiny person. Because she just kicked his ass. It was awesome. But like, it doesn't matter if you don't like it. And like, I didn't like it. I could have went outside. I could have gone to the bar. I could have walked out, looked at the merch table, but I didn't, because one, I wanted to show respect to the wrestlers and watch them put on this art form, right? Because it's in front of nobody. But I didn't have to watch that, and I knew that match was on the card, but it didn't prevent me from going. I had opportunities to not watch it if I didn't want to, and you have opportunities when you watch on TV, especially if you don't attend these shows. You don't even have to know it exists if you don't want to. It's real easy to ignore things now. It's real easy.
We ignore Anthony all the time.
All the time. No one did answer me.
Was someone talking?
You say I'm always talking about my workouts. And what did you say, Warren? Yeah. Did you both get me at the same time?
I think we did. I think we both roasted you at once. And that's a really good point, and it's the same. The same applies to intergender wrestling as well. Like, I can get that this will not be that it will not be someone's cup of tea, because holy smokes, how shocking could it be that a man and a woman would actually be in a competitive fight? Blows my mind. But anyway, I can still understand how some people might have problems processing that. And especially if you're watching it on television, you can turn off the TV, you can switch the channel, you can do whatever you want if you don't like it.
Right. And I think, it's good if you quote unquote experiment with new types of wrestling, because then you know what you like. And it's like watching movies or listening to music. I am not going to watch certain movies, and I'm not going to listen to certain music because I don't like it. Yeah. But then I just avoid it. And it's the same thing with wrestling. It's a form of entertainment. It's like sports. I happen to not give a flying F about certain teams and or LeBron James at all times. So I'm going to avoid all of LeBron James and his giant forehead. I'm just going to avoid him. And then I don't ever have to deal with him until Anthony brings him up. Kelly. Today, some backstory. Dean versus Nia Jax was announced for a Jonesboro, Arkansas show, a live event. There were some leaked ads that were going on. Today, it was confirmed that it's not actually happening. John Pollock from Post Wrestling had said, not happening. It's an old ad. What? And then WWE then came back and confirmed that it was an incorrect ad. So there is no Dean versus Nia Jax. First off, what do you mean old? Was this planned? And then they decided, that means that it was planned at some point, and then now it's an old ad. So my question is, why was it canceled? What do you think, Anthony?
I'm confused as to why they would cancel this match, because in my mind, if you're going to do a one-on-one intergender wrestling match, one, it has to be Nia. We've already established that. But why wouldn't you just use the wrestler that's not re-signing in a couple months anyway? Right? Like, if he's truly not coming back, if this creates heat, let Dean take all of the heat and then leave, because it leaves with him. Like, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And now it's not like you're putting Seth Rollins in this match where you ain't ever getting rid of him. So I don't understand it. I think Dean would be great in this feud. He already had a little mic spot with Nia the other day, which was enjoyable. And in my mind, actually kind of put her over a little bit, and maybe not intentionally, but I don't know. I don't know why this wouldn't take place. It should. It needs to and should happen at WrestleMania, I think.
I think Dean is, it's sort of been torn lately about the feelings for Dean. Like, there's been this wave of Dean haters, and I've never actually hated him, but I love Dean. I think it would have been a really good build for them. Even though he's leaving, I think it would have been a really cool way to incorporate this in, because he's hilarious and he carries people promo-wise. Yep. You don't have to say anything. He just will say everything that the moment of bliss where Nia Jax and Tamina come out and Dean's there and you see Three's being mute and they're all like just playing off each other. I mean, it was fantastic, and a lot of that is due, I mean, to Alexa Bliss, let's be honest, but also Dean, and because Alexa Bliss is my favorite. But I think this would have been a really cool intro, and they had 2 weeks ago they had Dean came out talking shit to Seth, and then Nia and Tamina come out and basically stare down Dean, and then was it Dean that was like, "Are you in love with me?" Or was it Nia that said that he had a crush on her? I can't remember. Do you guys remember?
Dean said Nia had a crush on him. Yeah, he was like, "Hey, I know you have a little crush on me." I thought that was awesome, and like Dean doing that. Like, I know you could probably argue that like that was stupid or whatever. That was just man being chauvinistic. That's why it would have worked, because then you could have seen Nia kick his ass and it would have been awesome. Like, she could have bullied him, but not been portrayed as the bully. It would have been fantastic. And Dean's done weirder things. And most importantly, Dean's a safe worker. So there's such low risk there. It's going to get over. People like Dean. If you turn him quasi-face or back in that tweener role, he's going to get anything he's in over. The match might fall flat. That's kind of the MO with him. And with Nia, but I don't know. I'm very disappointed if it doesn't happen. I'm not convinced that they're not just saving face because they want it to be a surprise, but I would be disappointed if that match does not take place.
I find it strange that they're backtracking on it, because house shows are the best place to try stuff out. Like, and I do think that. I do think it's a smart strategy if they do want to put this on a larger stage, on television or on a pay-per-view event on the award-winning WWE network. Then what you want to do is have it do the rounds a bit on the live circuit, gauge the audience reaction, test out a few spots. This works well, this doesn't. And then you make a hodgepodge of all the best moments that you did, that you got during the live events, and you put that on WrestleMania. I'm a little worried, actually, because, I like how WWE backtracked and like, oh, this was an old ad, It was broadcast. It was put out there. WWE does not have a habit of just tossing stuff out there accidentally and going, whoops. Whoopsie, we made a boo-boo here. This wasn't supposed to be broadcast. No, they had this plan. I'm kind of fearful that someone has cold feet or got cold feet. It was like, maybe we shouldn't be doing this. And it's stupid that if that's the reason why. It'll be really interesting to see what they do on Monday if Dean and Nia have any form of interaction, because if they do, then there's still a possibility for this match to happen, and that's fantastic. But if they don't, then that means they are pulling the intergender thing away from us again.
Yeah, I don't understand the thought process behind it. The only thing I can think of is maybe they're saving it. Maybe it got a really good reaction and they thought, oh, we should not do this at a house show, but do it live and, on USA or wherever. That's my only thought. And I hope they don't just drop it altogether, because, man, it would be really cool to see. I trust both of them work-wise in this situation. I don't think they'd give Nia too much that she can't handle, because it's going to look really bad. They don't want intergender wrestling to come off as men beating up women, especially on a PG show. So I'm excited. I hope that they continue with it. There's always this cycle of intergender wrestling. There's a cycle of when it just starts to pop up again. It'll go away for a while and it shows up again, and it goes away for a while and it shows. And I like that it's back in the spotlight. I personally, for Diva Dirt, have an upcoming interview piece where I've talked to women who have fought in intergender matches. I mean, that's everyone from Kylie Rae, Talia Valkyrie, Charlie Evans, Session Moth Martina. I mean, Lufisto. Just a ton of women to get their thought on it, and what would they say to fans who don't agree that it's something that's good. So I'm really excited to share that. I think this is going to be a news story and debate topic that keeps popping up. I think it's probably every episode there's going to be something involved in it, because it seems, especially now that WWE is pushing it a little bit, it's starting to get back some steam. Let's end a little bit talking about Elimination Chamber. That's coming up next weekend. Yes. The only women's matches we have right now, well, the most important one, which is our tag team title Elimination Chamber match, are 6 teams for the tag team titles are Nia and Tamina, the Riot Squad minus Ruby, so Liv Morgan and Sarah Logan, Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, the Iconics, Boston Hug Connection, and then the randomly thrown together Naomi and Carmella. What are you guys' predictions? Who's coming out of here with the very first tag team titles? Anthony?
I would go with, I would think that the Boston Hug Connection's walking out with it, right? That's what they've been booking for so long. I think they need to. I've seen some negative thoughts about all of these teams being involved. And is it inside of the Elimination Chamber? Is that correct?
Yep. It's an Elimination Chamber match. Both, so, according to the website, both members of the team are going to be in the pod.
Love that. Yeah. I really love that they're doing this, because it's twofold, right? Like I think that it's great. Yes, I have Boston Hug winning, but I think they're going to put the whole tag team on display. The whole tag team division is going to be on display, which is great. We have 6 teams. That's nice. It's a nice introduction, and at a pay-per-view and a big match and a unique gimmick match, and we get to see women in an elimination chamber again. So we know that last year when they did that, it wasn't a one-time thing. So we keep seeing WWE, continue to push the bar with what they will do with their women's division as far as gimmick matches and weapons and stuff like that. So I am a big fan of them doing it this way. I don't know how you guys feel, but big fan. Boston Hug all the way. That's who I'm rooting for anyway.
Warren?
Yeah. There is no outcome that will be acceptable other than Sasha and Bailey winning, because
Boston Hug, please use the right name.
Sasha and Bailey, because if they don't win, then they have effectively nullified both of these ladies' 2018, because that throughout all of 2018, all they've been angling was it was like, oh, well, we're going to start making them into a team because we have the tag team titles on the way and we need a good tag team. We're going to use these 2 ladies. And they've been so creatively all over the place, criminally underused, because they were they were supposed to be the catalyst to these titles. They have to win. Now, WWE logic would put you in a position where it's like, well, we're going to give it to Tamina and Nia because, you want them to be chased, right? And it makes sense. But it doesn't make sense in this context. It has to be Sasha and Bailey, because they didn't use them, because for some reason they waited months and months and months before pulling the trigger on the goddamn titles. It has to be that. If there's any other outcome, it is the wrong outcome.
I love how heated you get over this kind of stuff.
Yeah, he slurred through a word too. I can't remember what it was, but I thought I was back on Smart to Death with Kyle, with you having saying a couple of words. Oh wait, no, it's just a Canadian.
Oh my god.
Oh, Warren, are you drunk? Are you all right?
Am I drunk? No, I'm not drunk. No, that's fine. I'm not from Texas. I'm not drunk.
Hey. You enjoy your mason jar water, buddy.
It's so tasty. It adds to the flavor.
Anywho. Yeah, I mean, I think they're going to go Boston Hug Connection, because it does seem like the only thing they could do.
There's no other right answer. There's no other right answer.
No, there is no other answer.
There isn't. I think Manny and Sonya have something else going on right now. They have other storylines.
Oh, okay.
Other storylines to round out. The Riot Squad, as much as I would love to see more of Liv and Sarah together, I think right now they're going to just play it back up to Ruby. Nia and Tamina, they got all kinds of pokers in the fires. I mean, they don't really need the help of the tag team titles. I don't think that's going to happen. Iconics, man, I wouldn't mind if they got it because I feel really bad for them. They're just unsquashed matches. They're like our comedy relief. They're really good, and they have a history. And I think that the chemistry together would make for a really good tag team, like champions. So I think, and I really hope.
In any other context, I would agree with you, but there is no other answer.
I do think that if there's going to be another team that wins, it would be the Iconics to give them that heat. And there are two answers. Thank you, Kristen. There are two answers. It is either the Boston Hug connection, or it is contrary to Warren's belief that only one pair of women are good enough to win the tag team.
No, hang on. Wait a second.
The Iconics could be there to get the massive amount of heat because they could handle the massive amount of heat.
Now, hang on a second. There is nothing but fantastic women in that match that can win. No, I'm not backtracking. I'm clarifying because apparently, the further south you go, more difficulty hearing. It's probably the altitude, right? I'm talking from all the way up here in my mountain range, in my log cabin.
on the Mountie.
Exactly, with my moose. His name is George. Now, there are so many great women here, but if you do not give it to Sasha and Bayley are two of the divisions, the entire WWE's women's roster, two of their best tip-top stars. They did, oh man, I'm trying not to curse too much. They did nothing with them last year in preparation for this title. For these titles, we thought they were going to feud, but no, they were sent to therapy so they could be a team, so they could be the champs. God damn it! WWE sat on Sasha Banks and Bayley throughout 2018.
Yeah, it was bad.
They cannot not win.
Oh my god! So, just for the record, Sean has said that we can swear. I just want you to know.
I know. I just didn't want to get carried away.
And now that we tell Anthony that, but that's okay because Anthony swears like a sailor, and I'm okay with him not knowing that until the very end of this podcast.
I would have watched my mouth regardless.
Right.
Maybe.
Right.
I would have tried to.
No, you would not. Yeah, I think Boss Hug and Connection come out with this only because they have to do something. And I miss Bayley. I miss Bayley. Yes. I miss old Bayley. I miss NXT. Like, my ponytail can't even stay in anymore because I'm just wrestling my heart out. Bayley.
We all miss her. And we saw bits of her. We saw bits of her last week against Ronda.
Yeah.
We miss her.
That was the best. Right. That was the best she's looked in probably a year, really. Like, Bayley came up to the main roster and had so much promise with all of us that love her, and she was a badass wrestler, and gosh, she was such a good wrestler in NXT. And I feel like they've done so little with her that she just, I don't know, man. It feels like her matches aren't the same. She doesn't wrestle the same anymore. I miss Bayley. I miss Bayley and Sasha being treated like serious wrestlers. Yeah, they do have to win. That is absolutely the best outcome, is them winning, because they deserve something at all.
They have to win, and we've gotten a little bit of old Sasha back.
Yeah,
and everyone's throwing up. Yep, everyone's throwing up the fours. Mm-hmm. I got the little glimpse of somebody had like replayed when Becky was coming up and threw Bayley the 4. Mm-hmm. Bayley threw the 4 back at her. I mean, the 4s are being thrown everywhere. So let's just give them the spotlight. I love it. I'm gonna start throwing fours at people randomly in my real life, and they're like, what?
Fours are wild. Fours are running.
Like, I don't know. Look it up. Okay, we'll wrap this up. I think we've gotten enough of Warren's rants.
Oh my god.
Spit, that poor mic. It's probably just wet with his spit. Poor Warren's mic.
It's on a warranty. It's fine.
Let's go ahead and start with Warren so that we can plan this out properly. Warren, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you?
YouTube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes if you want to see how soaked my microphone gets over the course of a Raw or SmackDown recap. And this week I'm also going to be, if you're watching this on the day of release on this Thursday, I'm going to have a predictions show for Elimination Chamber, and I'm having Kelsey of Super Kicking It with Kelsey, who's going to be joining me, so that'll be exciting. And otherwise, I'm on FightfulSelect.com with my NXT 205 Live NXT UK recap show, and a bunch of other stuff over on Fightful as well. And you can follow me on Twitter at Mr. Warren Hayes.
Yeah. Anyway, Anthony, where are you, buddy?
I'm real confused right now as a person because Warren did not plug for 15 minutes. So I'm like I was preparing myself. No, you guys can follow Smart to Death at Smart to Death. And we go live on twitch.tv/Smart to Death every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central. But our podcast can be heard everywhere. There is lots of swearing, lots of laughs. Basically, our whole thing is that we run down news and we catch you up with everything that's happened. We give our opinions on it. I bully Kyle just like I bullied Warren at the end of this episode. So, if you like that, Smart to Death is the podcast for you.
And I can honestly say that Bully Anthony is the best. Anthony.
Yeah, I'm a great heel on that for sure.
He's the Mickey James to my Alexa Bliss. As far as me,
so he's the jobber, basically.
Yeah.
I'm putting everybody over.
The legend. Okay. As far as me, you can find me everywhere. Please come to Diva Dirt for all your women's wrestling news. I'll plug Fightful Select. I'm not on it, Sean, but maybe one day he'll like me enough to put my stuff on Fightful Select. Go to Patreon. It's $5 a month. You can get all of Warren's rants, bumper stickers, T-shirts, all kinds of stuff, Q&As, retro reviews, all the scoops. He's got a lot of them. Steals them all from me. Look on my YouTube channel. I have a YouTube channel now, guys. Kristen Ashley for Honest Reactions, where I react to women's wrestling matches live as they happen. I have Ring of Honor up there, and I also have a old match from 2016 with Boston Hug Connection. Just follow me on Twitter at Kristen Ashley for upcoming exclusives, future episodes of this podcast. Next episode, I have 2 women. Warren won't be here, so you can safely come without rants. It'll be amazing. I know I have Laura Morrow. She was on the last episode, and then Sierra Reed. I'm so excited. She's got some really great intakes, so we're going to have all women next time. It's going to be amazing. As far as topics, we don't think that far ahead. So thank you so much for listening. I know when you probably saw these 2 guys' names, you're like, oh, all right.
Enough
but thank
them.
You.
Yeah.
I see them everywhere. Thank you for adding to their overexposure. Thank you for coming listening to me. I don't have the best takes, but I appreciate everybody stopping by. Until next time.